We're going to try something a little bit different structurally today. We're going to start with a segment called Housewives in a Hurry, and I'm going to put 20 seconds on the clock, and I want you to explain to us, as though we know nothing about Housewives, what happened in this episode. Like, tell us as much as you can about who the players are, what the story is, and your time starts now.
Okay, so first of all, we're doing Salt Lake City. Okay, so so Salt Lake City starts. They're talking about a fight. They're talking. They're mad about the fight. Lisa has to make up with somebody, and then because the fight was about, they were dressed as pioneers and they're yelling at each other as pioneers.
You got it.
Brutal. Okay. Yeah. That's roughly what happened in Salt Lake City. Okay,
that's
so
true.
we will start with Salt Lake City first. What were your impressions of these housewives, because they were brand new to you?
I guess I wasn't as clear immediately. Like, I was like, when I was looking like at the housewives or whatever, I was kind of like, I wasn't exactly clear on like who did what. I guess it was just the family in the episode. It wasn't really clear. I didn't meet many people's families in those episodes compared to previous Real Housewives I've watched. So I guess that was one thing, was they kind of remained ambiguous to me throughout the course of the episode. Whereas I thought the other shows that I had seen did a pretty good job on catching me up, or like I got people's essence. I didn't really get as much of an essence from like the Salt Lake City people. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a total vibe that I could follow with any of them in that particular episode to like pin down who they were, or, you know, who they want us, you know, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. I think like you had a tough assignment with this episode of Salt Lake City, because you're really dropped right into the middle of things, but at the same time we're in between some like major happenings. So this is like a little bit of a peacetime episode. Let's talk about your highlights. So I asked you to select one or two highlights from this episode. What stood out to you? What were your highlights?
Well, first of all, I really liked the two things. Yeah, I guess I'll say that it was interesting to see a Mormon missionary store.
Yeah,
you know, like that they have because I didn't quite catch it in as they were coming into the story. You know, you see the suits on display and whatnot. And then, but I forget the exact word. It was a very official religious word, like kind of denoting like a movement or something, like prostrate or something, I believe, or so. The sales attendant said, "You're going to be doing this in the suit." So, and I was like,
right.
Oh, before they kind of actually revealed that that's what the whole store was, I was like, okay, that's what you kind of. So it was interesting, because I was wondering how much of the religion bleeds its way into the Salt Lake City show.
Yeah, this is a store that I feel like could only exist within Salt Lake City or Utah somewhere. This idea of a high fashion store for missionaries. This scene as a whole was fantastic. Like, I thought that it kind of embodied a lot of just the setting really well, but also the themes that were going on this season in Salt Lake City. Like, we are getting this scene between Lisa and her son that, like, it's got an element of tenderness there for sure, but also like it's a very like complicated dynamic that Lisa has with kind of the church in the cultural sense, and like she doesn't really adhere to a lot of the more strict rules of the Mormon church. And so to have her go to this store where like she's someone that like really appreciates fashion and is going into this store where like it is fashion, but it is like within kind of a box, whereas she's used to like expressing herself through fashion. I thought that was really interesting. And we got to look at that dynamic of her as a mother and this like push and pull with her son, and how like complicated that relationship is because he adheres so much more strictly to the church than she does. Another thing that I thought was really like compelling about this scene to me was just how Lisa reacted to Jack kind of pushing her back a bit. Like she, as soon as he was like, I need my space. You need to back off. Like, I think he literally says you need to back off. You're a lot. She doesn't do that. She does the opposite. And she really like pours on the guilt and, telling this childhood story of how he used to say, my heart beats to mom, to mom, to mom. It's like, oh, you are really like pulling out the deep cuts in order to like manipulate him into feeling guilty and feeling sentimental, because that's what you're feeling and that's what this moment means to you. It's a moment about sentimentality, whereas for him this moment is the opposite. This is him like trying to spread his wings and get freedom. So I thought that dynamic between these characters is just like so fascinating. This scene was a definite highlight for me.
Yeah.
Did you have one more highlight from this episode?
Yeah, the whole plated by Meredith thing. I don't know. I think it's fascinating to see what people do and, outside of the confines of, the show, right?
Yeah. Okay, first off, like plated by Meredith seems like the worst name for a jewelry line. Like she might as well have just called it cheap, right? Yeah. Like, like this isn't real. This is just like
but that
gold colored.
That was some marketing people being like, we're taking it back. You know what I mean? It's like next is like pleather. You know it. We know it. Wear
it. What specifically about this scene stood out to you?
You know what? I think that I was fascinated. I honestly wish the they showed a bit more of the collection, just because. And honestly, but maybe they did in episodes previous. Like, how much is she designing? Like, is she kind of overseeing design with just idea input? Like, I'm curious now about like how deep it goes with Meredith's involvement in the creative process for the jewelry line. I don't know. And what I guess it is just obviously was kind of the climax. So you have the thing with Whitney and then Lisa then becoming the new in terms of the fight. One fight dies and another fight rises like the phoenix. Yeah, and obviously and then you see the preview for the next episode, and then now Lisa's going to be like, "You attacked me" to Whitney. Or whatever after Whitney went after her. Yeah, so the machine keeps moving, man. They keep fighting.
Sandy, what did you think about this scene? Because this was one that stood out to me. I'm curious what your take on this party was.
It was absolutely one of my highlights. I thought it was so fascinating watching Lisa. I mean, I love Lisa and Whitney's interaction. So Whitney comes to this party with her close or best friend just dying. And if this were the normal world, I would say, don't do that if you can't make this someone else's party all about you. But of course, we're here for this. So I think It was a great choice. So she did proceed to make it all about her, which is, fine. She did have her friend die. I am trying to figure out what was happening with Lisa, because I think Lisa just like forgot that Whitney's friend died, even if she remembered that morning. And I'm interested in you guys' take on this, because she really was acting like she didn't recall that, even though she apparently sent flowers that morning. It can skip someone's mind, especially someone that's very self-involved like Lisa. I think that's plausible. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. And then I think she felt really upset when she was called out on it, because all of a sudden you kind of see a shift where she's like, well, yes, of course, that's how you feel. And I just didn't know if I should bring it up or not. Like, that's not, I don't know. That wasn't the vibe a second ago. And then she gets so upset by being called out on this. And I think that's because she feels genuinely really bad, and it's really cutting her, because like she really does want to be a good friend, but she's just struggling with like an incredibly self-involved personality all the time. So that's my read on it, but I don't know if that's right. And I'm interested because I found it so interesting how upset she got, because she could have just been like, oh, whatever, like you're overreacting. But she was crying at some point, I think, after being called self-involved. And I think sometimes when you know something's true about yourself, it is harsher to hear. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that she went into this like in battle mode, and I think that you're right that she completely forgot. Like, I think that she was, in housewife mode beforehand. She's like, okay, so I've got this, like, I'm going to have to deal with Monica when she's there, and like things are going to blow up because the last time we saw them together, it was explosive. We know that is just such a heated, intense situation. I think that was like number one thing on her mind. I think the other thing is, she is clearly affected by Jack like leaving, and she still has this dynamic with Heather that is a little bit unsteady. So that is another piece that is like, she's like, how am I going to deal with that? And also the last time that we saw Lisa and Meredith together, it is tense. Like at the beginning of this episode, when we get like a talk with them, they have like lunch or whatever. It's like they fight over how Lisa is like pumping the brakes on her relationship with Meredith, but not on her relationship with Angie. So I think she, was seeing the battlefield. She was seeing all these like fronts that she might have to wage war on. And she was not thinking at all about Whitney. And then the fact that Whitney was like, hey, you're not being a good friend to me, which is like the core of the issue between Meredith and Lisa. I feel like she took all that energy, all that frustration that she had with Meredith about being called not a good friend, and projected that onto Whitney, and is like, you're not going to make me the villain here because I'm a good friend. I sent you flowers. She just completely like forgot at the beginning of this, and she doesn't want this to be kind of like another nail in her coffin, because like I feel like she must know that she's not having the greatest season, since she's got so many like fights going on that she's having to juggle. Like if you're in a position where you're going into a party, you got 4 people that you're worried about interactions with, like you have to know that you're not having a great season socially. And so the fact that Whitney is someone who she has had a good relationship, and she does feel like off camera she has been a good friend, to have it brought up on camera and like for her to be caught completely off guard, especially after forgetting, I think that she was like projecting a lot, and definitely like a misplay, but I'm totally here for it.
Yeah, no, totally. Defenses were up because, just in, as you say, she's at a 10 in housewife mode coming into that. And then I think she just like, Whitney was probably ready to go to a 10 or whatever and then Lisa was saying all the wrong things in terms of being, especially, starting off with the whole like, I'm not good with death thing, like, just no one wants to hear it ever. No one wants to hear about how you can't handle what they're doing in that situation because they didn't put themselves in that situation. They're grieving.
Yeah, totally.
So whenever somebody launches into that, I think in my head previously in life, my first instinct is like, oh, good for you. I don't care about your story right now. You know what I mean? Like, and your inability to deal with me being sad. Like, get out of here. Shut up. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Totally. Sandy, what highlights did you have from this episode? Anything we didn't cover so far?
So other than that, what we just discussed, my other highlight was just a little one, which was I loved Monica's do-over trip gifts, because these trip gifts on these shows are always so absurd. They're always like, I mean, they're fun. Like it's fun, but they're like useless gifts. It's this whole trope, this whole thing that always happens. They already did it with the little thing of sand, like last episode where Monica had a little childish freak out and said, I'm not going on this trip and whatever else. So she's doing like this do-over where she gets them these like massive pastries and like a bottle of rum. And I just think it was pretty funny because it was super awkward. She just like literally, I can't remember what scene it was, but she interrupted a conversation where I really wanted to hear what was happening. I don't remember who was talking, but she's like, "Hi, can I just interrupt this? I have to go do something for 5 minutes." And I was like, oh, I really wanted to hear what was happening there, but okay. She brings them to a table to give them these giant pastry boxes and rum, which I'm sure none of them want either of those things. And I just thought it was pretty cute and stupid that she redid her gift thing. And then I love that like random people were trying to eat the pastries. And she's like, oh, those are actually special Housewives gift travel intro pastries. You can actually have these because one person didn't come. Like none of those Housewives are eating those pastries today or taking home that whatever she got them rum thing. So I thought that was all quite adorably stupid.
Yeah, those are producer pastries for sure. Like some production assistant sought out the Bermudan pastry or the Portuguese pastries.
Monica had a really good like party scene. I thought that she did a great job with this like makeup, like bringing the makeup gift. She needed to do that. She also did a great job resolving things with Lisa, which was something that Lisa clearly didn't see coming, and also I didn't see coming. Like I thought that that was going to be, a relationship that was going to be fraught for the rest of the season. And even Lisa said like, "You're great at apologizing. This is great." And then afterwards they like make up, and then Lisa's like, "We're fine. We're fine, right?" And Monica's like, "Yeah, I feel good." And Lisa being like, "Okay, I always need to double check because clearly she is not handling the makeups in the relationships that she does have so far very well, since things with Meredith, who she just made up with at the beginning of the season, are already not great. And who knows where things are at with Heather, who I feel like she's made up with Heather a few times and it just has not really stuck. So I really love the kind of self-awareness of her being like, "We're good, right? Like, I don't need to worry about this. I always need to double check."
Can she take one person off her massive list that you enumerated earlier of people she has to be afraid to interact with? I'm sure she was happy.
Totally. Sandy, did you have any other highlights from this episode?
No, those were my top couple.
Cool. Yeah, I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about from this episode. There was one like thing that I noticed that was really bizarre. Was we got the scene between Heather and Monica at the bar. I don't know what this place was, but if you look in the background, every single person in there is like sitting on a laptop working, and Heather and Monica are ordering like Moscow mules and stuff like that. But it looks like the lobby of a very like business traveler centric hotel, like kind of like a nicer hotel, but near the airport. Like that's
Right.
the vibe there. Just really surreal. But this conversation that they had where they Heather's trying to like test the waters a little bit of like where Monica is at in terms of this upcoming trip to Bermuda, I thought was interesting, because it wasn't so much like, are you coming to Bermuda or not, but like, how do I proceed with you in this group? I need to figure that out like one-on-one, because she says like, I was trying the tough love approach or whatever. Clearly that didn't work. And I don't think it's fair to say that wouldn't really work with Monica, because like she does revert to this, like any interaction that she has with her castmates, she reverts to like a childlike position. This is something that we've talked about often covering this season. She like reverts to being a child just because of the like relationship that she has with her mother, and she treats a lot of these like her castmates as kind of like maternal figures and how she deals with them. So I don't think that Heather was necessarily wrong for taking kind of that tough love approach, but I think that within the the context of everyone being upset with Monica and like her feeling really ganged up on, she needed someone in her corner. That's kind of like that's what she has been, the subtext of what she has been yelling all season has been like, I want someone to stand up for me. I want like a mother figure to like be on my side, not like apologizing me, not scolding me. I want someone to like take my side, and she didn't get that. And so I think that that's where Heather went wrong in this situation. But yeah, so I know that there's a lot of stuff kind of in the meta on social media about like what is going on between Heather and Monica. We won't weigh into that until it comes up on screen, but really curious to see how this develops on screen. The other highlight for me, not really a highlight, but just something that like stood out to me, was the fact that Mary invited Monica over for like cake and to see her house and to like check in on her or something like that. Not really sure what Mary is doing here just within the context of the show, because they don't have a pre-existing relationship. The person that Monica seems like she might be closest with is Whitney, who Mary is not great with. So maybe there's like trying to maybe turn Monica's perspective on Whitney a little bit, but that didn't come up. So I'm really confused as to what Mary is doing here. It almost feels like she is like going one by one with each of the castmates, bringing them over to her house for like a one-on-one discussion this season. Because we saw that, like, I think Meredith came over for a one-on-one, Heather came over for a one-on-one. Now Monica is coming over for a one-on-one. Is she like it's like the opening scene of The Godfather is what it kind of reminded me, like, come into my space and, you know, like really have this like take a groveling tone with me and like, you know, butter me up to like if you want to get something out of me.
Have some fluffy carrot cake.
So much cake on the show that they never eat. But okay, but Mary, like, what is she even doing? She's only filming in her house. Like, that's the only place she's willing to film. This is a total repeat of several seasons ago where she eventually quit the show. She seems to refuse to film with the rest of the cast. And I like Mary. She's weird, but like, she needs to interact a bit. I don't want to only see her in her weird house. Like, it's cool once or twice, but she needs to go out and do something. Like, why is she even on the show? Like, this can't last that much. She's not going to be brought back, right? Like,
so I feel like when they went into do this season, they were like, you're coming back as a housewife. So like full-time housewife, we're going to shoot stuff in your house or whatever. You're going to like be in the driver's seat on your story and how we're going to film and have some control. And then they realized she was doing the like same thing and demoted her to friend of. I feel like I've said that I think friend of is the perfect mix for Mary, but you're right. We need to see her out and about. We need to see like when we get her out at a party or interacting in a group setting, it is very like rewarding. There's so many great moments come out of that because she's forced to interact with people that she cannot hide her like contempt for. So like that's the Mary that I love to see. I feel like they were going to treat her as, you know, a housewife, and so they were filming at her house and she got to bring people over, and they're like, okay, now like these are significant interactions for the sake of the overall story. We need to include these pieces, but I feel like if she returns next season, they might have a better idea as to how to handle her in a friend of capacity, as opposed to like pursuing it as just the return of Mary as like a snowflake holder.
Yeah, totally. That's very helpful. Thanks, Craig.
That's I mean, that's not.
It's good. I know it's not the insider
fact.
Bravo, but
like...
I take it like that. I think it's a really good guess.
Yeah. The way it stands right now, as you describe it, it kind of reminds me of like fantasy novels or shows where it's like a wizard has to travel to talk to another wizard of great import. but goes to that wizard's tower in a faraway land and then just walks back. And that's the whole thing. You like literally sometimes they just go somewhere to talk to a very learned guy and then they come back, and maybe Mary is that wizard in this particular trope.
And her house her house didn't look as weird. Did she get rid of her weird chairs, or was that a different room? Because she had some real wizard chairs being shown off the last few episodes, or Willy Wonka or whatever you want to call them. But, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's another thing, like production's just getting used to having like to set up at Mary's house. They know what needs to be rearranged in order to make it seem like a sane place. It's going to be one of those like things, you know how on like a police procedural show like Law and Order, how they have kind of these fixed like setups that you always see, like everything is always lit the same way. Or a soap opera is another example of this, where they like light things all a certain way and they have a very like simple setup that's repeatable and you always have the same like look. I feel like Mary's place is going to evolve into like a set like like that, where they just know their setups. It's like set it up quickly and then tear it down quickly. So I want to give each of the housewives, and to an extent the friends of, a rating out of 10. We're going to work our way through them. Okay, Ryan, let's start with you. What's your rating out of 10 for Heather this episode?
5.
5?
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
5.
Sandy, how about you?
Honestly, thinking back, I don't recall. She doesn't stand out for me. So I'll give her a 6.
6. Okay, you're being generous today, you guys. I'm going to give her a 3 because, like you said, we didn't really see much of her. I guess we got like a little bit of an interaction between her and Monica, but not really doing anything through no fault of her own, but still. Next is Lisa. I'm going to give Lisa an 8. I really enjoyed what we got out of Lisa. I feel like this was very heavy on the Lisa because we got that really great scene between her and her son. We got, you know, a really complicated dynamic between her and basically everyone at this party. So that's an 8 for me. How about you, Sandy?
Yeah, totally echoing that. I'm going to give her a 10. I love Lisa, and she gave us a lot this episode.
10. Nice. Mm-hmm. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah. I'm a say, yeah, it's up there. I'm gonna give a 9. A 9. I'm gonna take away 1 point just because her son didn't choose anything cool in the suit shop. I
should have tore off the sleeves or something like that. Yeah.
Or if I could rate him independently, that little dork gets a 2. Go have fun in Bogota.
I like her son Jack. I think, like, I don't know, he's just been someone that we have seen a lot of different, like, we've seen him grow up and kind of like just be this awkward force. And I don't know, I really enjoy that it is like he is such a contrast between Lisa and him. So yeah. I like him. Sandy, what would you give Monica out of 10?
I'm going to give Monica an 8 for this episode, or maybe just in general. Right. I'm just doing a vibe overall. She gets an 8.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that Monica, I'm going to also give her I'm not going to give her an 8 because I gave Lisa an 8. I'm going to give her a 7. I do think that she was doing a lot. I think she's doing a good job of trying to change her like position socially, and she's like in makeup mode. How much of that is like foresight and like being genuine, and how much of that is like because her back's up against the wall, and how much that ratio even matters at all is up for debate. But yeah, 7 for me. Ryan.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8 as well. Yeah, decent amount of action and a good apology.
So Whitney, Ryan, what was your score for Whitney?
I think I'll give Whitney an 8 as well. Had a blend of some real human stuff happening, plus still some party fireworks. under
Yeah.
bad circumstances.
Sandy, what do you think about Whitney?
Yeah, I'm going to run her an 8 because she brought it to the party. And I liked that she made it all about her. Not unreasonably, but it worked well.
Yeah, I'll give Whitney an 8 as well. That makes me feel like I should bump Lisa up a bit higher, but I said it, so it's in the spreadsheet that I'm keeping. So can't change it now. So Meredith, what do you think about Meredith, Sandy?
Okay, well, yeah, Meredith can have a 3. I don't know. She just put out her jewelry like every other housewife does. We literally had one 2 episodes ago that put out a jewelry line. Not that I'm not interested in that. Yeah. To be fair, Ryan, I love seeing their weird little businesses, but
they all have a jewelry line.
yeah, Meredith. I used to think Meredith was pretty interesting, maybe the first season, but she just kind of stagnated a bit in the last while. She's always kind of doing the same thing. She does bring some drama, but yeah.
Yeah, what I think makes Meredith a great housewife, because I think that she is a great housewife, is the fact that she is so emotional and reactive to any situation. There's a part during this party where, when when Whitney comes in and is tells her what's up and why she's got a cloud hanging over her. Meredith is just compartmentalize. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. And this is advice coming from someone who cannot compartmentalize anything and is just so emotionally affected by everything that is going on. She flips out on people and then is sorry, it's just because I've got this other thing going on in my life. There's some talk of some sort of sick kid that is in her life that is causing her to fly off the handle at people. So this advice to compartmentalize coming from her is just so rich. But that's something that makes her a great housewife. And, that kind of speaks to her lack of awareness here. But yeah, we didn't see much of her other than her jewelry line, but we did get that one little clip that I'm going to give her a point for the compartmentalized lack of self-awareness and for having the maybe most terrible name for a jewelry line out of any housewife jewelry line, which plated is so cheap. So she's getting a 5 for me. Ryan, did I get your score on Meredith?
No, I'll give a 5. I mean, not much action really besides the event, but I was pretty on the rails.
Yeah, for sure. Angie, Ryan, what did you think about Angie?
I guess 1. Who's Angie?
Yeah, yeah. We did not see a lot of Angie this episode, so that is a fair assessment.
Yeah, straight up, I don't know. I probably know if we went back or whatever, but yeah, no, the name doesn't ring a bell from everyone I saw.
Sandy, what did you think of Angie?
Yeah, I don't have any memory of her in this episode at this point, so I'll give her a 2. I don't know.
2? Yeah, I think the only time that we saw her was at the very beginning. We got a her and Heather talking about the Pioneer Party or something like that. I'm gonna give her a 2 because she still is the catalyst for some of the shit that's going down between Meredith and Lisa. So gets a point for that. Cool. And do you guys feel strongly enough about Mary, friend of, to give her a rating this episode?
I like the carrot cake. It did look pretty good. So the cake,
all right.
I'm going to give the cake a 6.
Okay. She gets a 6 by way of the cake that she did not bake. Sandy?
Yeah, she can have a 3. I mean, I love Mary, but as I said, she's not doing much right now.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to give her a 2.